Welcome everyone to another episode of Pop Rant Radio, the podcast where two pop culture junkies discuss popular and sometimes not so popular culture. My name is Moss, I'm one of your hosts, and with me as always is my good friend and co-host, Eric. How are you today, sir?
Doing fairly well.
Good, welcome back.
Thank you. Or was I?
You were gone for a week, because did you not realize I released an episode?
I did! We didn't talk for a week, and I was like, something happened?
No,
I hope something happened.
No, yeah, I was just busy that week. But I recorded like a shorter episode where I talked about magic.
I recorded a short episode too. It's about the politics of Eastern Asia during the 1800s.
Ah, it was so short it doesn't exist?
It's pretty good.
So we're recording this the night before Thanksgiving.
Great holiday, celebrating wonderful things.
We're not going to talk about the origins of that holiday because it's really terrible.
And it's tied to genocide.
It's a lot of fun. So we are going to talk about movies that we are thankful for.
Yes.
And this is kind of themed around the release of the new movie Arrival, starring Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker.
Yes, Forrest Whitaker's half-closed eye. He looks tired that whole movie.
That's just his face. Like, he can't do anything about it.
I mean, we also have another Forrest Whitaker movie to look forward to this year.
Oh, the new Star Wars.
I like how that you prefaced it with a, oh.
We'll see. We'll see.
We were going to do this whole podcast about planes, trains, and automobiles being the only Thanksgiving-themed film.
Oh, they can buff that right out, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a lot worse than this. They'll be able to buff this out, no problem.
I love that movie. It's really funny.
It is. It's so good. But, there really isn't any Thanksgiving films unless you count the 80 million Hallmark movies that they make.
Addams Family Values.
Okay.
They do the Pilgrim play.
You have taken the land which is rightfully ours. Years from now, my people will be forced to live in mobile homes, on reservations. Your people will wear cardigans and drink highballs. We will sell our bracelets by the roadsides. You will play golf and enjoy hot hors d'oeuvres. My people will have pain and degradation. Your people will have stick shifts. The gods of my tribe have spoken. They have said, do not trust the pilgrims.
There's the Charlie Brown. I guess The Witch is a Thanksgiving movie.
The Witch?
Yeah.
Is that new one?
It's got pilgrims in it.
Yeah, that's supposed to be really good.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
I saw parts of it and I was like, it's alright.
Alright, I really want to watch it.
It's
supposed to be
very
good.
uncomfortable, underage, nudity and ideas, and it's like...
Nudity and ideas? Underage nudity and underage ideas?
There's a couple references to, very inappropriate things with underage people, and it's it's interesting because you went there, but it's not interesting because you did it.
Alright, well, I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna see what I think.
And it's a very Thanksgiving-themed film, so go watch it.
Are you thankful for it?
No.
Okay, cool. So
I am thankful for Season of the Witch.
Oh, Season of the Witch.
Such a good movie.
Remember when we used to watch bad movies all the time?
Yep, it was great.
Even more than we do now.
I love I don't even remember if this is Season, I think it's Season of the Witch. Where it's like that.
No, that's Season of the Witch.
There's wolves around
That's
here.
Season of the Witch. It's clearly just a person off camera
making
wolf sounds.
Hey, put a wolf sound in here. Jerry, make a wolf sound. You're really good at it. And he's just woo, woo. Oh my God, there's wolves.
They just play Werewolves of London. Ah, woo. They just record that.
Or just DMX for a while. Fantastic. So Thanksgiving movies are non-existent.
Inexistent, non-existent. We're going to open up today talking about the new movie Arrival because, spoilers, we loved it.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about why we loved it. We're going to open with kind of non-spoilers and then we'll make a clear cutoff point where we're going to spoil the movie.
Right.
So right now, if you haven't seen the movie Arrival, go see it. Go see it in theaters. It's totally worth going to watch. As I said to you earlier, it's a smart movie made for adults.
Yep.
It's not a movie full of explosions and cheesy dialogue and personality-less Superman.
Right.
It's a great movie. I highly recommend you see it. So please go out and see it. It's totally worth going to the theaters, seeing it on the big screen.
Yes. Don't waste your money on all that Harry Potter BS. Watch a real movie.
So anyway, we love this movie.
Yes.
And Arrival is...
Arrival is a 1995 picture starring Charlie Sheen.
First signal's definitely sky-based, but this one is Earth-based. Something's going on here, Shar. What is it that they're trying to hide?
It had a sequel.
So we're going to talk about Arrival, non-spoilers, then spoilers, and then we're going to talk about a few movies that have released within the last several years, maybe 10 years, that sort of thing, that we're thankful for.
Right.
Because as you're about to find out, we're thankful for Arrival because, like I said, it's a movie made for adults. It's smart. There's so many just bad, churned out Hollywood, like boardroom, just shat out movies.
Here's a list of them now.
Right.
So we'll pan the invisible list. Like if you're not with us right now, you can't see the teleprompter next to us that's putting up the list.
Right.
Batman v Superman is on there about 8 times.
if you're not with us now, so everyone except me.
Right. Well, I'm the person that's just awkwardly standing behind us somewhere.
Oh yes.
Because we're still in Halloween.
The Babadook.
Ooh, the nice portly British gentleman in Australia.
So we're going to talk about Arrival, and then we're going to talk about other movies that are kind of in the same vein as Arrival that we really appreciate because they're movies for adults.
You mean good movies?
Good movies. The phrase that we're going to use over and over again, it's like they made a movie.
Yeah, we said that upstairs, and like the more we said about the movie, we just kept coming to that. It's almost like they made a movie.
Yes. So, Arrival. Basic concept, if you haven't seen any of the trailers, Amy Adams is a linguistics professor.
Right.
And she is contacted by...
Professor of linguistics.
Sure. Whatever. That's a funny joke because it's meta.
Yep.
So, there's these, like, giant... Think of, like, Independence Day. Like, these giant ships.
Yeah, they call them shells.
Yeah, show up on Earth. And unlike Independence Day, there's not a bunch of explosions.
Right, and they're like...
And there's no Randy Quaid.
They're like half a mile tall, I think is what they said.
Yeah, they're really big, and they're just kind of looming. There's 12 of them on the planet, and they're just looming all around the world. And the governments around the world don't know what's going on. The one in the U.S. is in Montana.
Right. There's one in the U.S. I think the other notable ones, there's also like the first one shows up in Japan, I think is what they said. One of
them is in the U.S., it's in Montana. And Amy Adams gets contacted by the government, in this case, Forrest Whitaker. He's like an army colonel, represents the government.
Right, and they have a bit of a history because he had asked her to translate. It was like a terrorist demands or something like that.
Yeah. They set up a precedence for why she's had contact with the government beforehand.
Right.
They want her to eventually come to Montana and be on site to try and help translate or figure out the language of these aliens, these beings that we don't see, until like half an hour into the movie. And she kind of doesn't really know what to expect. We as the audience don't really know what to expect because the trailers for the movie, at least the ones I've seen, they don't really reveal exactly what the movie's about.
Which is really good.
Yes. The trailers actually make it seem like it's going to be more like a thriller, like a horror thriller.
Yeah, it felt like an action movie in the trailer.
That's not what this movie is at all. Like, not even close. This movie is... It's like they made a movie. It's a movie for smart adults, and there's themes and concepts, and it's so good. I love it so much.
I was waiting. We joked about this beforehand that I was waiting at one point for one of the aliens like quietly pull like a laser pistol from behind its body. And, like, it never happens. Like, the aliens have no weapons throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and so Jeremy Renner is a theoretical physicist who she meets shortly after the movie begins, and they are tasked to try and figure out why these beings are here.
Right. She's brought to communicate. He's brought to find out how they got here.
Yeah, and so maybe there's, like, faster-than-light travel that they can, get some knowledge about, or whatever. So our two main characters are scientists, which I love so much.
Right.
Because this is a movie that, without spoiling anything, it's about smart people doing their jobs.
Scientists, like Mark Wahlberg's character in Transformers 4.
Exactly.
He's a scientist.
Yeah, it turns out they're Transformers, so that this is really just Transformers 5, really.
Right. Last Night with King Arthur.
And everybody knows how much we love those movies.
Can we just cancel this whole thing?
No.
Stop Transformers together.
No. All right, we're done.
Stop Michael Bay.
We're done with Transformers talk.
Oh my gosh.
The two main characters are scientists. They're smart people, and they have a job to do.
Right.
And I really love movies where we get to see somebody in a job, that does a job that we don't necessarily normally see in movies, and we get to watch them do it, and it's written in such a way that it really conveys like what they do and the knowledge.
Yeah, and I really like the meticulous like setting up whenever they do eventually start doing their jobs. Like we get to see how much setting up time they get. Like we see them putting on the suits, we see them putting on like the 8 or 9 layers. washing off.
This movie
going up there
is paced
yes,
like a movie.
right, and even like they also take their time with things.
Yes.
Like when they first get in the pod, nothing happens.
Right.
Like it's great. Nothing happens.
It's almost like they're building suspense.
Right.
It's almost like they made a movie.
And it's just, oh my god, it's a breath of fresh air because it was like, all right, here we go. Here comes the laser gun. Here comes the fight.
So,
oh no, they're not gonna do it. All right, cool.
When that's the premise. The premise of the movie is we have these two scientists and they're going to come into contact with these alien beings.
Right.
What's going to happen?
Right. With the main goal being, what is your purpose here?
Yeah, they're
That
trying
is
to
the
figure out
ultimate question.
well, why the aliens are here. So at this point, we can't really say much more without spoiling things.
Right.
So this is a clear point delineation where if you haven't seen this movie, you should stop right now and go watch it. So if you haven't seen it, you can skip to 26 minutes, 31 seconds. Go watch it if you haven't already. Go now.
This is like Fight Club rules. Like the fact that you don't talk about Fight Club because you don't talk about the twist.
Don't talk about Arrival until you've seen it.
Right, because the twist is really well done because it's like I said when we were talking beforehand, it is hidden in plain sight. It's right in front of you the whole time. It's not something stupid like the aliens are afraid of water.
Yeah.
Or something dumb and horrible and stupid and thoughtless like that. Like the aliens that are afraid of water.
Shyamalamalan.
Right. It's not dumb crap. I see dead people. He's dead the whole time. Like that's good.
That was good.
That's a good twist. They're afraid of water. Not a good twist.
His weakness is water. Also
like,
not a good
making it
twist.
Unpredictable is not a good twist. Making it hidden in plain sight and we know it the whole time and if we were paying attention we could probably figure it out earlier than it's revealed. That's a good twist. And that's what this one does.
It's like they made a movie.
Right. They wrote it, they put it together, and it was fantastic.
Okay, so to kind of like speed through this, because if you're listening at this point, you've seen the movie, hopefully. Otherwise, fuck you. You're spoiling this great movie for yourself. I am adamant about this. I am super hostile about it. We meet the aliens.
Right.
They're aboard the ship, and the aliens communicate by drawing symbols with it's like they're shooting out ink. It's like they're squids.
Because Amy Adams deducts that their speech can't be interpreted. Their speech does not translate similarly to how ours does.
Yeah, like how they communicate audibly is not the same as how they communicate through written language.
Right, which is fantastic because even our different languages are so complex that the way that she goes about translating this, which is through written language, is the easiest way to translate language here on Earth.
Yeah, so the aliens or the heptapods, I think? Heptapods. 7 legs. Heptapods. Because the creatures have 7 little leg things. They look like giant hands.
They look,
with 7 fingers.
They look like squids or spiders.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, and I mentioned this right after I saw it, this movie gives me heavy flashbacks to Stephen King's The Mist. Because when we see the heptapods, they're always in this weird misty kind of area. And in Stephen King's The Mist, there's a lot of things that look like what they look like. And they look the same and they're in mist. And the music's super similar. But that movie's garbage. Don't watch that movie. It's terrible.
So we meet the aliens and they communicate via symbols.
Right.
And Amy Adams kind of has to work on the idea that has to deduce what the symbols mean. Yep. And they work for it for a long time. And then Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner attempt to teach the aliens a little bit of English so that they can communicate with the aliens without them misunderstanding. And they do this so well. So there's a scene where Forrest Whitaker, the colonel, is like, we need you to ask them why they're here, what their purpose is. And Amy Adams is like, okay. And it's kind of like the scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey explains okay, this is how space works and time and you jump through the holes and blah, blah, blah. Amy Adams explains, she writes the sentence, what is your purpose here on Earth? ? And so she explains to the colonel, okay, so this is an incredibly complicated idea. Number one, and she circles the question mark. We have to make sure they understand what a question is.
Right. The idea of a question has to be understood for us to start.
The idea that they understand that we are asking them a question. Right. They have to understand that. They have to understand. She circles the word your. She
circles you and are.
Yeah. So she's they have to understand that you doesn't mean you specifically, you the one I'm talking to.
Why is Joe Alien? Why is Joe Alien here? Why are all 12 of you here?
It means your, as in why is your species, or why are you as a collective here? And she breaks down this sentence like a linguistics professor or professor of
she
linguistics
takes
would.
This 6-word question, and she spends like 20 minutes explaining why someone who has no knowledge...
It's like 5 minutes, but yeah.
But she takes like all this time explaining why someone who has no knowledge of the English language, why this is a confusing statement to jump to right now.
And it breaks it down for the Colonel, but it also breaks it down for us as the audience, so we understand why it's so important for these characters to take such care and such time with what we're doing, with what the characters are doing. So as we get these scenes of showing the two characters like trying to teach the aliens like simple concepts and their own names and that sort of thing, we feel what they're doing. We feel how much time it takes. We feel the work and the thoughts and the ideas that they have to put into conveying these concepts to these aliens. It's like they made a movie.
Right.
It's so good.
We also, to bring up what we talked about last time, Doctor Strange, like we get a very good understanding of how much time has passed.
Yes.
We see them in different lessons. We see the words getting more and more difficult. We see them starting to put words together. Like at one point she has Ian walks, and like Jeremy Renner's character is physically walking across, holding that board saying Ian walks.
Right.
We get it. We understand. And not only do they don't have to, but they even say like, well, that was, what is this, test 28 now or whatever?
Yeah, whatever.
Like, but it's not like test 28, go. Like it feels more casual. It's actually put in there and we understand why
this movie,
how long it's taken.
Yeah, understands the concept of subtlety and that you don't have to spell out word for word literally everything.
Right.
They spell out the things they need to. They spell out the things that would need to be spelled out in the characters in the universe, a la the Colonel and the sentence structure. But that's for us as the audience to kind of grab hold of the idea and the concept of what's going on. And then they allow the visual language of filmmaking to convey the information that doesn't have to be explicitly told to the audience.
I mean, if I want to be told something, I'll just go read a book.
Nerd! The other idea that they introduce is, and that Amy Adams explains this to, again, the Colonel character and to Ian, Jeremy Renner's character, they talk about dreaming. They talk about dreaming in other languages, like as you learn a language like Spanish or French or anything, there's always this old adage that you know you're doing well or you're learning the language when you start to dream in that language.
Right.
So the conception is that our characters are beginning to dream in the alien language. And they also talk about how when you're really young, the language that you learn when you're a little kid determines the way that you think. Determines how your brain makes different connections, because the language that you learn shapes the concepts that you as a person in your brain understand.
Right.
So if you, for example, like, you know, the old adage of like Eskimos have 1,000 words for snow or whatever it is. And there's other things where it's like we in English versus like another language, like we have a different number of words for like the color blue.
Right. Or like Spanish. There's Spain Spanish, there's Mexico Spanish, there's Central American Spanish, South American Spanish. Yeah,
there's tenses. There's like, there's possessive tenses, there's collective senses where like if I want to talk about myself, there's a form for that. There's a form of speech for that. Right. If I want to talk about you, there's a speech for that. If I want to talk about us collectively, there's conjugations of verbs based upon what you're in reference to. Whereas some languages, I think it's Chinese or Japanese, where like one of them, they don't have like a concept of tense, like of past tense, of present tense, of future tense. You have to pick up what tense you're speaking about based upon context clues from the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, like Japanese uses different forms of words completely for tenses.
Yeah.
Like how we have like run, running, ran, like that's how Japanese works. Like Japanese has like the word for understand is wakarimasu, and like wakarimasu is like the active. And then there's wakarimashita, which is the passive. It's already happened. I understood.
But then, so you have these different, the way that you learn the language and the language that you understand determines how you understand specific concepts.
Right.
And like, that's a big idea to be in a movie.
And it's something we don't think about either.
Yeah, but when you start to think about it, and like, I listened to, I think it was the Crack podcast did an episode that was kind of based around this concept. And like, it's super interesting to think about the idea of the language that you speak and the language that you think in determines how you think about concepts. And that idea is brought to the forefront in this movie because as we learn, the aliens their language, the way that they think about language, they actually see through time
Right.
in a non-linear fashion. It's kind of reminiscent of like Watchmen with Dr. Manhattan.
How
where,
he's continuously aware of every possibility of everything.
He experiences all time simultaneously.
Right.
In the same way that the aliens in this movie, they can kind of see into the future because they experience time in a different way because of the way their minds work based upon their language.
Right.
And Amy Adams begins to understand and see her future based upon her understanding of the alien language.
But the thing I really like about this, because a lot of movies would have screwed this up, Jeremy Renner's character like physically serves more of a purpose than to just be her assistant.
Yes.
He's the one that figures out that they perceive time in a more blanketed way instead of a linear way. And I love that because most movies would have just had him be just like the assistant. He's just like, he's the guy we're supposed to see the world through. It's kind of interesting the way they do the blanketed time. I know there's a theory to it. I don't remember what it is. But it's kind of tied to their atmosphere, we find out.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because it's essentially Superman. They're Kryptonians.
But yeah, long story short.
Right. They're to completely ruin it, they're Kryptonians. That's the big twist.
I exist only to protect Krypton.
Like it's a big DC movie and you didn't even know it.
Right. So they go on to explain again that concept, the idea that the way that these aliens think about language has developed their brains in such a way that they experience time kind of simultaneously and they can kind of see into the future. And that starts to happen to Amy Adams because she, at the very beginning of the movie, we open with this scene where Amy Adams is spending time with presumably her daughter.
Right. It's very like Up reminiscent.
Yes.
It's like the whole existence of one person done in like the span of, I want to say, like less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, a few minutes, and we get from her daughter's birth to as she's growing up to as she's loving her daughter to when she fights with her daughter to when her daughter dies of some cause. We don't know. It might be cancer or leukemia or something along those lines. We don't know.
It takes her, and it takes her quickly.
Yeah, and she ends up dying. That's how we get introduced to this character. And then so we feel like, okay, she was a mother, she lost her child. Like we get some kind of background on who this character is. And then again, the big reveal is that...
Which again, if you broke the rules and you're here against our wills, stop.
You shall not pass!
Stop right now.
The big twist is that this hasn't happened yet.
Right.
She hasn't had her child yet. She's seeing into the future, and there's this great moment before the reveal where Amy Adams, there's so many great moments, where Amy Adams is talking to her daughter, what we think is in the past, but what turns out is in the future.
Right.
Where she is talking to her daughter, and her daughter wants something, and Amy Adams says, your father's a scientist, go ask him.
Right.
And it triggered, this is the moment where I realized, like, the scientist is Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams are going to end up together. They're going to have this child. And we're seeing the future.
Right.
Because of the way that the language works for the aliens, they can see time simultaneously. She is also seeing this simultaneously in her dreams, and she doesn't understand it. You had mentioned before we started recording, there's that moment where she's like, who is this girl?
Yeah, that's the break. That's like the wall break.
Yes.
Because the whole time we're seeing her like with these flashbacks, we think they're flashbacks. And like after a flashback, you don't go, wow, that was an interesting flashback, or I remember that. You never do that. So she never does that. So the whole time she's seeing these things, like she's not reacting to them, which is expected. And when she finally reacts to it, that's the twist.
Right.
The twist is, well, who is this child?
And
the whole movie we're like, what do you mean who's this child?
Yeah.
This is your daughter. We what are you doing? We've been setting this whole thing up this whole time. What are you like? What's going on? And then it hits you, and it's like, okay, great, that's fantastic.
And then we see the future conversation where the daughter asks why the father and the mother are not around anymore, or not together anymore. And Amy Adams explains, I told him something about a decision that I made, and he thinks that I made the wrong choice.
Right.
And again, it's not explicitly spelled out, but it's implied through the visual language of filmmaking that the choice was she chooses to have a daughter with Jeremy Renner,
on knowing,
even though she knows that she will die of this rare disease,
right?
And she wants to have that experience even though she knows it's going to be taken away from her.
Right, and we talked about this right before we started recording this, that one of the amazing things that this movie does really well is its like editing and its camera work.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the whole film with the shots of Amy Adams and her daughter, like, it's kept really kind of open when her daughter is younger. Like, you see her more, but the older her daughter gets, the more Amy Adams is in shadows or kind of blurred out or something like that. And now after seeing the movie, like, we kind of realized that, well, we could have put two and two together and said, well, she wouldn't have been that old.
Right.
Like, there's no way she looks that, like, Amy Adams looks great. Good job. You look fantastic. You're amazingly beautiful, whatever. But, like, when we finally start her story, there's no way she would look like a early,
right,
like, late 30s person.
Yeah.
A daughter that age.
Because the person that I went to see it with told me, she was like, hey, like, I kind of realized something was going on because, you know, Amy Adams is the same age at the beginning when her daughter's getting older and older and older. And, you know, obviously she's still young. And I thought to myself, it was like, well, that's like Hollywood movies do that all the time, where it's like they don't even bother. But it really showed me how smart this movie was, because it took this idea of like, oh, it's just a Hollywood movie, they don't care. And it really flipped it on its head. We're like, oh, this takes place in the future. Like, this hasn't happened yet. That's why
it's like
she's the same age. Yeah, and it was this great moment where it took like this dumb trope that's in so many movies, and it made me think it was a dumb trope, but then it showed me, no, this hasn't happened yet,
right.
And that's why she's the same age. Like, it's like they made a movie.
Right.
It's like they made a movie.
And that's the problem with it, is like the amount of thought that goes into this, the amount of work that goes into this, it makes everything else look like crap.
I mean, by far, this is my favorite movie of this year that I've seen so far. Like,
right.
Not close.
It's definitely, I think it's the best.
Yeah.
It is the best film I've seen all year.
It's so well done. It's so good. And we didn't even talk about everything that's in this movie.
Right.
But again, if you've listened this far and you haven't seen it, shame on you.
Right.
Like, go see this damn movie. It's so good. It deserves for everyone to see it in theaters and support it, because it's so rare nowadays that we get a smart movie for adults, and we need to support these kinds of movies because there's just like it's important. It's important that we get these movies. It's important that every movie isn't Transformers fucking 5 or Batman versus fucking Superman
or Green Lantern
or whatever. Just these just shat out Hollywood movies that we get from
films.
Yeah, it's just boardroom films that are just assembled, and they just check off the boxes of crap that they have to put in the movie to sell tickets and to sell toys and to meet the marketing. And like, I get it, it's a business, I get it, I understand, but it's so joyful to see a movie that's a movie that somebody put time and thought and effort into to tell a great story with great characters and tell it in an interesting way and make it visually appealing and just to make a fucking movie. I'm so happy that I saw this movie.
It's like shocking to me that like a movie can still be this
It's
good.
Incredible.
And like, I understand that this is based on a writing. Like,
yeah, it's based on a short story.
Right? And I get that, but that's not an argument for it, because Batman v Superman is roughly based off of Dark Knight Returns, which is phenomenal. And that movie's phenomenally shit. Like, that's not an excuse for it. This movie took a short story, and I don't know if they directly adapted it or whatever, but it still was a fantastically glorious production.
It's an adaptation. They took the things that were interesting about the short story and they translated it effectively into a film.
Right.
Like, it's possible.
I mean, even like the beauty of one of the things, like, and this is, I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison here real quick. The shells, when they first show up, you don't see them. You see everyone's reaction to it. Amy Adams comes to work, and all the students are huddled around a TV, and they're all kind of like talking really loudly, and you can clearly see it's like a news program. Then she gets in her classroom, and her classroom's like empty except for like 6 or 7 students, and like she's just like, "Hey, where is everyone?" And one of the girls they keep getting phone calls, and one of the girls picks up her phone, and she's like, "Could you turn on the TV and switch to a news channel?" And she does, and then it pulls behind her.
Right.
Like, we don't see
we see
TV.
the characters' reactions to what's happening. We don't see what's happening.
Right.
And it builds that suspense.
The first time we see it is when she gets in Montana, and we even see like all the human reaction. We see like the giant crowd of people. We see all the highways filled.
Yeah, the riots, the looting.
It's not until she sees it that we see it. So we get to experience the awe that she experienced when she sees it, at the same time. And that's beautiful, and that's wonderful, and that's not robbing us of a situation like Godzilla, where in the new Godzilla movie, there's 2 or 3 times right before Godzilla either shows up or is about to fight one of the kaiju that it pulls away or it changes shots. And that's BS, and that sucks in that movie. But in this movie, it does the same thing, but it does it effectively. And it builds tension. And it's almost like they made a damn movie.
It's like they made a movie.
And it's like, I left the movie theater and I was just like, I couldn't think of the last time I left a movie where I was like, yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Like, I leave, like, Captain America Civil War, and I was like, I enjoyed that. That was good. It had a couple problems, but, like, it was good. I left this movie and I sat in my car for, like, an hour, and I tried to think of something I didn't like, and I couldn't.
This is a really good movie.
It's fantastic.
It's so
well made.
fucking good. Go see this movie. If you haven't,
right now,
go see this movie.
Pause it.
See it twice.
Pause me mid-sentence and go.
Long story short, we loved Arrival.
Yes, make more, please.
Yeah, more movies like this. Support this movie so we get more movies like it. It's so important. I've quoted this before, but somebody once said a long time ago, with the privilege of making movies comes the responsibility of making good movies. And a bunch of people lived up to that promise and that responsibility in this film.
Yep.
Like, it was just so well done. It's like they made a movie.
Yep, everything just fell into place. Cinematography, directing, writing, acting, it was all wonderful.
Yeah. So that's our opinion on Arrival. Obviously, we loved it.
It's the fact about Arrival.
We could talk a lot more about it, but you really need to experience this movie, even if you listen this far. Like, we didn't talk about literally everything, but if you take what we talked about and go watch the movie with this in mind, like, just appreciate the quality of filmmaking, the quality of the writing and the direction and the choices for dialogue and the acting and the editing and the music and just the general storytelling that went into this film. It's there to be admired. It's there to inspire other people to make movies that can be this good. This is what movie making is all about. This is the magic of movies. You can tell these grand stories with these characters that this material, this story doesn't necessarily translate into another medium. And maybe it would, but the people involved in this movie adapted this short story into this incredible visual experience.
Right, with intelligence.
God,
we can't get over that.
It's a smart movie made for adults.
It's so smart compared to other things. And I remember when people said Inception was smart.
Yeah, and I like Inception.
I do too, but it's not a smart movie.
But I think it kind of is. Like, it's reminiscent of this in that it explains its concepts.
Right. It's fantastical smart. It's not like Nolan is wonderful and everything, but his smart is like smart in his world.
Yeah, and Inception at the end of the day is still a Hollywood movie.
Right, but this movie is smart in our world as well as theirs.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it even better, is like everything that she talks about, like, if you go and see this movie like with a linguistics professor or a professor of linguistics, like, they're going to get to that part where she's explaining the sentence and they're going to be like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Like, there's no part in Inception where someone goes, yeah, of course. Of course you have to slip the thing into their veins and sleep near them. And of course there has to be an architect. Duh. Like, it's just, Inception wasn't smart. This is smart, and I really hope this gets nearly the reception that Inception did.
The reception Inception did.
That is really hard to say.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
So now we're going to talk about movies kind of in the same vein. Movies that we're, quote, thankful for.
Right.
Movies that we really appreciate because they are smart movies made for adults. And like I said, just that those don't come around very often anymore, at least not movies that get, a big release or get a lot of wide attention. So now we're going to talk about some movies that are smart movies made for adults, or are movies that are well made, or movies that are made like they're movies.
And like someone cared.
Exactly.
So the first one I kind of want to talk about, because I mentioned earlier that it's been a while since I've left a movie and went, yeah, okay, that was great. The last time I think it happened was a movie called Ex Machina.
Ooh, yes.
Which, oddly enough, is still sci-fi, which I think we're going to kind of get back to that topic a lot with this list. And Ex Machina, man, it's another movie that it just really paces itself. It has a small setting, and it just has 4 people in it. And, like, it works so well.
Over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test. One day the AIs are gonna look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
And like you have to guess who you're gonna side with. The Turing test is an amazingly fun thing to cover. And like you have to constantly question, is Oscar Isaac a bad person? Is he a good person? What's the robot's name? Eve?
Eve, I believe.
Eve or Ava or something
Ava,
like that?
maybe? No, Ava is Wally.
Yeah.
It's Eve, I think.
Eve.
Let's look it
Alicia
up.
Vikander.
Alicia Vikander, the robot.
Vikander, the robot. Like, you have to question whether or not she's being sincere or if she's doing this out of her own gain. Which we don't even start thinking about that until Oscar Isaac puts that thought into our mind.
Yeah.
Into the main character's mind.
And it's great because it's so well done because it really plays on your wanting to side with one person or the other. Ava.
So we were right the second time.
Like, at first, you're like, okay, Oscar... Oh, spoilers for this movie, by the way. Yeah, see this if you haven't. The whole movie, we're kind of thinking like, all right, Oscar Isaacs is kind of the bad guy and kind of crazy.
He's a smartass. He's kind of a prick.
Yeah, and he is, but as we figure out, like, Ava at the end, it's just been a big giant ploy for her to escape. And the thing that I really loved about Ex Machina is the three main characters, like the two humans and then Ava, like they're not good people. Right. Like they're all kind of shitty.
Like the best one's our main character, but even at times he comes across as shallow or even perverted or something.
I mean, he is selfish. Ultimately, he wants to get away with Ava. And the movie does this great thing where it kind of, it's a big twist, but then the twist is subverted. But it's not like, oh, it's a twist, then a twist, then a twist, then a twist. Like, it doesn't overly twist everything.
Yeah, it's one twist that is then, like, reversed and then in itself offers another one.
Yeah, but it's done in such a way that you understand the timing and the setup of everything. When the twist happens and when the subversion of the twist happens, those are emotionally impactful to you as an audience member because... Number one, you give a shit about the characters.
Right.
The movie spends a great deal of time building into that. And because the movie kind of takes place all in one centralized location, like the feeling of claustrophobia builds and of isolationism builds. And those things really play into the ultimate conclusion of the movie.
And it works really, really well with it. And it's earned. Again, like I said earlier, that twists can't just be a twist and it happens. It makes sense why this happens. And are we in spoilers? Like are we in spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, she turns on him. And like that's what Oscar Isaac warns him. Oscar Isaac warns him that, hey, she's going to be out for herself.
Yeah,
she's going to turn on you ASAP.
Yeah, she's going to say whatever she needs to say to make you think what she wants you to think.
Right, like the Turing test is set up as just a test for him to do, and Oscar Isaac warns him, like, hey, the more you get into this, the more she's going to try to deceive you.
Right, and so just for everyone, like, if you don't know, the Turing test is basically the idea that...
Like, make them look it up.
So the Turing test is the idea that if a human interacts with an AI, with an artificial intelligence... Right. And doesn't realize that it is an artificial intelligence and doesn't distinguish it from a human, that's the Turing test. So
and it's usually done without seeing the other person.
Yes.
It's usually done like over the phone or through conversations through email. But in this film in particular, Oscar Isaac is so confident in his AI of Ava that he has him sit physically in front of her, knowing very well that she is a robot. But look how great she is.
Yeah, and throughout the movie, the main character, Domhnall Gleeson, like who
was in everything that year.
Yeah, he was. He gets there and he thinks that Oscar Isaacs is like this genius in the field of robotics, which he is. And he gets to like this isolated compound. And then he starts to develop feelings for Ava. And Oscar Isaacs warns him, like, it's just a machine, man. Like, she wants you. Like, that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to make you develop feelings for her. And Domhnall Gleeson's like, no, she is a real person because of the AI is so advanced. And then he thinks that he finds some information out about Oscar Isaacs to where Oscar Isaacs is kind of a son of a bitch.
Right.
And is treating the other AIs like shit. And like that really happens. So he kind of comes up with this plan for Ava to escape.
Yep.
But is it a setup? Like, is Oscar Isaacs just trying to test him to see if he will try to help her escape? Like, it's just back and forth, and you don't have a clear answer until the final few minutes of the movie. And the twist and the subversion of the twist, even though it's great and it's shocking, it all makes sense contextually.
Right, because like the initial twist is that yes, Oscar Isaac is a terrible person. He's gross, he's perverted, he has no respect or thought for AIs, he's very disrespectful to them, which is the same thing I just said twice, but that's how bad it is, right? So that's like the first twist. So he's like, okay, I'm 100% correct about my assumption, I'm going to side with her, let's help her out. And then the reverse twist on that is she fucks him over.
Yeah, she's playing
100% like, I'm getting out of here. That is my goal, and I will get that any way possible. So much so that she ends up killing the two of them. Yes. She physically kills Oscar Isaac, and then she locks him in like a small room, and like there's no way out. And it's like
Gleason's just stuck because it's like this.
It's like a remote location.
Yeah, it's this remote location, and the facility is designed to not let the AI robots, the AI beings, get out.
Right.
So she gains his trust, gains Domhnall Gleeson's trust, and then strands him and fucks him over, and like he's screwed. Like he cannot get out. He's gonna starve to death. Like he can't get out. But the great thing is like Ava, like she does this specifically to trick him, but she's still an AI, so she doesn't have any remorse.
Right.
It's just
she doesn't like look at him or say like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I had to do this."
Nope.
She literally just like walks out the room.
Doesn't say a thing to him. Like
she goes in the elevator and she leaves.
She systematically, like a program, does what she has to do to get what she wants.
Right.
And then has no emotional reaction to that. And like we see her like walking out into the world, just like experiencing the world for the first time.
Right.
She has no qualms about what she did.
No.
She probably doesn't even think about it or consider it anymore. She did what she needed to do to get what she wanted.
By all means necessary, she got her freedom.
Yes.
And like that doesn't matter to her.
And it's so cold and calculating, as is the movie.
Right.
Like the way that the movie is edited and the environment that it takes place in, the setting, and just like the choice of camera angles and cinematography. It is cold.
Everything looks lifeless.
Yes.
The whole film.
In the same way that the AI is cold. And
even so, with like, there's several scenes where like another kind of small reveal is that Oscar Isaac's wife or like girlfriend or whatever is also an AI.
Yes.
And that's revealed really kind of a sickening, almost like thriller way where like she has like different faces and he finds like different coats of skin for her to wear.
Yeah.
Domhnall Gleeson even goes in and like cuts himself because he's second guessing himself at that point.
Yeah, he doesn't know if he is himself an AI.
Right.
And it's psychological, but it doesn't get bogged down in that.
Right, and because that's not the point of the film.
Right.
The point of the film is to make you think that everything here is cold and lifeless, and it's because of Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Like, he is the villain. And then the big twist is,
right.
No, he's not. He's just a douche.
He's just a douche, but he's a guy, and like you can understand at the end of the movie why he is the way that he is, because he spent the last several years of his life like just interacting with these AIs in kind of like a lifeless way.
Right.
And you see him kind of lose his humanity in the way that he treats the other AIs. Like, we understand him. We understand where he's coming from. He's still a son of a bitch, but we understand how he became that way.
Right. And
it's so good.
He's like compensating for it when he first gets there too, in a way that feels like, hey, I haven't seen people for a while.
Right.
Please don't leave yet. Let's get some drinks and hang out, bro.
Yeah, like he wants to hang out with them, but at the same time, he's still cold and calculating to Domhnall Gleeson, because like he knows what's going on and he knows how Gleeson is thinking. Like he knows how he's reacting to it, and that's part of the test. It's such a fucking good movie.
So good, and even he talks about how like the robotics are designed like based on like his pornographic searches.
Yes.
As like a weakness to try to get even under that, and it's just like that's so smart for a film.
Yeah, it's an incredible movie.
It's so good. Go see it. It's just that's what this podcast should be titled.
Yeah, go see it. It's like they made a movie.
Right.
So the movie that I want to talk about is from a few years ago now. It's almost 10 years. It's almost out of range for what we were going to do today. Transformers 3.
Well, no, I think Transformers is 10 years old now. Oh, is it Shrek?
Somebody! Well, okay.
I think it's like 15 years old now.
All right, so the movie I want to talk about is No Country for Old Men.
Oh.
And obviously this movie like won Best Picture, and
it's amazing.
And it's the Coen brothers, and like everybody knows about it, but this movie's so fucking good. So, No Country for Old Men. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. God,
again,
like
subtext for this podcast.
It's like they made a movie.
Watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. So it's Josh Brolin.
Yep.
Anton Chigurh. That's the character's name.
Nope. Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem. Woody Harrelson, Tommy Lee Jones, the girl from Train Spotting, and she's also in other stuff. I don't remember her name. She's Irish. So many good people in it.
There's
a lot of character actors.
There's 2 kids.
There's 2 kids. There's 2 kids.
There's a bunch of Latinos.
Right. Well, the movie takes place in Texas, like on the border of Texas and Mexico. So this movie is so great because
you talk about dating this movie. It's the fact that at one point Josh Brolin just casually walks across the border and then casually walks back.
Yes, he does.
He's just a guy who happened to find that money.
I got a bad feeling, Llewellyn.
It's a mess, ain't it, Sheriff?
If it ain't, it'll do till the mess gets here.
The reason that I love this movie is because the main character, Llewellyn Moss, that's not why I love him. He's just a normal guy, and he stumbles across this basically bag full of money. Like it's full of like $1 million or whatever it is.
Surrounded by dead bodies.
Surrounded by dead banditos. And he's this character where like his idea is like he found it, it's his.
Right.
Like, nobody's gonna take it away from him. And he's not a great guy. He's just trying to make ends meet. Like he lives with his wife in like their trailer, and like he comes across the money and he's basically like, this is gonna set us up for life.
Right.
Now we're gonna get out of here. And the movie is about all of these characters that are surrounding this money.
Yeah.
Because as we learn, it's a drug deal that goes bad and everybody gets killed in the drug deal. Josh Brolin stumbles across the money, and we have Javier Bardem playing Anton Chigurh, just an incredible character, an incredible performance.
He is the one of the most terrifying characters in history.
He is absolutely terrifying. That scene where he's talking about the coin
with the gas
station
clerk.
attendant. Oh my
and
god,
like,
it's so
the gas
good.
station clerk's like, well, I'd like to know what I have to gain. He's just like, everything.
Yeah.
And you lose everything.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss?
I don't know. I couldn't say.
Call it.
And he's like, don't put the coin back in your pocket, otherwise it becomes just another coin.
That's your lucky quarter. Don't put it back in there.
And like,
other coins
he
will be
kills
coin.
people with like the cattle, like air pressurized killer.
It has a pin in it. And it's with an oxygen tank.
It's used to kill cattle in real life.
Like they even talk. Tommy Lee Jones talks about it like casually with Josh Brolin's wife about how like shooting the cow in the head was like too gross or too messy. So it's real quick.
They use it, and this is how they humanely, quote unquote, kill cows. And like just the setting and the cinematography is just, it's so enveloped. Like the movie's so on point with its theme, and the storytelling is so kind of enveloped and wrapped up in the movie setting, the movie's time, the movie's sense of place, and the characters that are in the story. This movie is so good.
Well, it does an amazing job of balancing 3 stories.
Yes.
Which is the story of Josh Brolin on the run, Javier Bardem like catching up to him constantly, and Tommy Lee Jones trying to figure things out so that he can protect Josh Brolin and bring Javier Bardem back in for the murder of a police officer, which happens at the beginning of the movie.
And that's the thing, is like all the characters in the movie, like Woody Harrelson is kind of like this investigator type of thing.
I think he's a bounty hunter?
Yeah, something along those lines. But he is, like, everybody's kind of a piece of shit in this movie.
Right.
But they're all incredibly interesting, and they're all incredibly like compelling to watch. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, he's the classic, like, oh, he's just about to retire, like, sheriff. But they take that trope, they take that kind of cliche, and they make it super interesting because Tommy Lee Jones is kind of reflecting on how the world has changed. Like, the world is full of terrible people doing terrible things. And he kind of understands where his father was coming from. And he talks about a dream that he had where he meets up with his father and his grandfather, and kind of like, it's a passing of the torch, but the world just isn't the same as what it used to be. It kind of reminds me of that speech given at the very end of Seven, when Morgan Freeman talks about how the world is a fine place and it's worth fighting for. Well, I at least agree with the last part of that, where the world is a shit place, but it is worth fighting for.
Thanks to John Doe.
Like, that theme, again, kind of plays in this movie.
Yeah, and it has the gall at times.
Yes.
Like, there is just, it's brutal and it's rough and it's horrible and it keeps you kind of on your feet, like everyone talks about like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. It keeps you on your feet that anyone can be killed.
You really don't know. And like, again, spoilers to this movie, like the main character dies off screen.
Right, and that's the best thing because it's not about him.
Yes.
And that's when it switches.
Yeah, because
the movie is not about Josh Brolin. And it just tosses him aside when it's done with him.
It really does. Like we get Josh Brolin, we follow him throughout the movie along with the other two characters like you mentioned, and then we kind of like enter back into Tommy Lee Jones's story and he comes across the dead Josh Brolin.
Right.
And like you said, like it's this moment of the movie is not about Josh Brolin. The movie is about the world, like the characters and the world and the time and place.
And Tommy Lee Jones's perception of like how much it's changed.
Yes. Like it really is this movie that's centered around the idea that criminals, you know, the drug trade and all the terrible things that are happening to these people in this town, it's kind of this look into this period of time in these characters' worlds.
Right. But the worst thing about it that Tommy Lee Jones finds out is these aren't just criminals anymore that are like just street thugs or anything like that. Like he finds out that Javier Bardem is working with something bigger.
Yeah.
And like that's when he kind of just, he loses a lot more like faith.
And as he comes across these crime scenes and the bodies are piling up, like it's just weighing more and more and more on the Tommy Lee Jones character where he's realizing like these people are dying, like these completely innocent people that have nothing to do with the drug deal. Like they're just in the way
in the
of
wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, they're just in the way of this unstoppable force in Javier Bardem. And the movie has a little bit of action in it, but it's not an action movie. Like it's telling the story of these three characters and of this town and of this situation and kind of the horrors that go into that.
Its action feels more like beats. Like they feel more like scene beats. Like,
and all the action reveals more information about the characters who are involved in the action.
Like the scene with like when Woody Harrelson, spoiler, is killed off. Like there's not a lot of action in that scene, and you don't go into that scene knowing that Woody Harrelson's going to die. Even though it's amazing. I always love that part because Woody Harrelson comes back to a hotel and he starts walking up the stairs and he's like in the middle of the frame, maybe off to the side. And if you look in the background, you just see Javier Bardem walking through the lobby and then coming up the stairs right behind him. And it's not until like Woody Harrelson turns to see him that he's the focus now.
Right.
And like it's great. And the pacing of that scene's amazing. And at no time do you feel like Woody Harrelson's dead until he's physically shot. And it's with that wonderful shotgun, by the way.
Yeah, like, that has the suppressor, the huge suppressor on the end of it.
Like a 7 or 8 inch suppressor on the end of the shotgun that just makes like this weird like boink sound whenever it shoots.
It's like they made a movie.
Yep. Good job, Coens.
Yeah, and there's, and we're running out of time, but there's so many other movies that kind of fit in this vein. One I've talked about before, Michael Clayton.
Right.
Again, if you haven't seen that movie, see it. It's a smart movie for adults. It's so good. The performances are great. The storyline is great. The things that happen are insightful and are a commentary on our world today.
Right.
And it's such a fantastic movie, full of great performances. Tom Wilkinson especially plays kind of like this lawyer who's kind of losing his mind and should be on medication, and it's just a brilliant performance.
Right, that or like we were mentioning before, even though we talk about it all the time, Fury Road.
Yeah, Mad Max Fury Road.
It's refreshing. That movie is just like this one, where it's a refreshing film where everything looks great, it's paced well, the characters are like super developed, but through more than one way.
Yeah, and
just it's visually stunning.
It's cinematic.
Yeah, and it's the reason why people go to movies.
Yeah.
To be entertained and have a story.
But it tells a story that needs to be told visually to be fully realized, and it lets the visuals tell the story.
Yep.
It doesn't let things get bogged down in too much explanation or not enough world building or not enough dialogue or too much dialogue. It's a movie. It shows you the experience that it wants you to have.
And it does it masterfully.
So good.
Cheese.
Another movie that I don't think I've mentioned before, but I really, really love, came out several years ago, The Debt. It's Helen Mirren. The Debt. Like you owe a debt.
Johnny Depp?
No, not The Depp. No, that sounds terrible. Although,
oh my gosh, it'd be great.
What if it was like what's that that movie about Bob Dylan, where all the different actors play Bob Dylan.
Like it's like the I'm Not There. Or something
I'm Not
like
There. Let's get a Johnny Depp biopic movie where all these different actors portray Johnny Depp.
Okay, only if one of them could be like Julianne Moore.
That's perfect.
Just someone who's way more talented than Johnny Depp.
Meryl Streep has to be.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis as Johnny Depp.
Yep.
Oh my god! Like Daniel Day-Lewis as Johnny Depp, like in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right. And like Meryl Streep as Johnny Depp in Edward Scissorhands.
Yes, just that sounds that sounds incredible.
Don't pay Johnny Depp for it.
Meryl Streep's definitely Jack Sparrow, and then and
Daniel
Day-Lewis is definitely Edward Scissorhands.
Right, and then you just make Julianne Moore Ed Wood. And there you go.
But yeah, so The Debt is a movie about these. It takes place in like modern times and modern like more recent times, and also like right after World War II. It's about these Israeli like secret service or like secret agents who are chasing after this doctor who is known to be like a Nazi surgeon.
Right.
It's really, really good. You should definitely watch it. It's awesome. Jessica Chastain is in it. Sam Worthington was in it when he still mattered. He's good in it though.
Okay,
he's good in it.
You're really losing me. You started with Jessica Chastain, and I'm like, I'm not okay with Jessica Chastain, and then you were like, Sam Worthington. I was like, all right, we're done.
They're both really, really good in it. It's actually
all you're missing is that dude that played Captain Boomerang.
Well, and a lot of it is foreign language. Like a lot of it's not in English. Like it's really, really good. Watch that movie. So many great movies. They're just it's like they made a movie, man.
Dear Hollywood, make more of them.
Make more movies.
Well, don't make more movies. Make less movies.
Make more movies that are movies.
Right. Like, how many movies did we get a year from like mainstream Hollywood?
Oh, I mean, countless. I think it's this.
Give us 12. Like, let's cut back. Let's do 12 a year. All right? And it can only be one studio for each one. And Disney, it's one. Like, that's one Disney film or Star Wars or Marvel. Not one of each. Cut it out.
Let's see.
No more DC.
Let's see what happens with Rogue One, and we'll go from there. We'll do an episode on it.
Oh, I have to see it.
All right. So that's been our episode on Arrival and movies that we're thankful for. Great movies that are smart movies made for adults that we really, really love.
An impossible topic to cover in an hour.
It's like they made a movie.
Yep. And boy, did they.
So we hope you appreciated this episode. We had a lot of fun kind of discussing and talking about and reminiscing about these movies that we really, really love. If you did like it, you can let us know. You can find the show at Pop Rant Radio on Facebook and Twitter. As always, you can follow and subscribe to the show on iTunes. Leave a review. That really helps out the show. And we don't say this enough. I've mentioned this before, but tell a friend. If you are enjoying the podcast, tell a friend. I think that really helps us out the most.
It does.
We'd like to thank Major for the theme song.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir, as always. And that's the show for this week. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
Glad that we're back together here again.
Yep.
And other than that, we will see you next week.
Right. And next week is another week.
Bye.
See you.